What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back, finally, for a Sunday Night Football DraftKings Showdown breakdown between the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter, at Josh Engleman, so you can get updates to these results as we get closer to lock. And finally, let me know in the comments section who are your favorite options at captain and at utility for tonight's slate. Some of the high-level stuff. 134.1, that's the average fantasy points in the optimal lineup. Median salary used, $49,000. Not a ton of value, but enough to make it so that you can get pretty close to the cap. On average, 2.8 Rams in the optimal lineup, 3.2 San Francisco 49ers, which is interesting because the Rams are 3-point favorites in San Fran with a 51.5 point total. Now, I think it's time to dive in to the captains. Now, we don't have ownership early on Sundays for this slate, so we always have to just take a look at this based on sim results only. And that is a little scary for this particular slate. We'll start with Deebo Samuel, which is not where anyone would expect me to start. 9% chance of being the top captain. He's 9,300. That is the lowest that I would be really comfortable going. After that, we have 5 guys that are north of 10%. Highest being Jimmy Garoppolo, 17% odds of being the top captain. He is 14,400, but we could pay up. We can go to Jared Goff, 16.2. We can go to George Kittle. He's 15.6. Both of those guys, 12 to 14% chance of being the top captain. We can drop below Garoppolo. We can go to someone like Cooper Kupp at 13.5 or Robert Woods at 12.6. Both of those guys, about 13% chance of being the top captain. And that's where it sort of gets tricky. Goff, Kittle, Garoppolo, Kupp and Woods, a little bit off the beaten path, Deebo Samuel. All of these guys are pretty similar. You know, Deebo Samuel is going to get you a much different construction because he's only 9,300. The other 5 guys, 12 to 15% chance of being the top captain and similar construction. You have to pay very, very close attention to the public ownership. That's why you should get an Awesemo.com subscription. That way you can get that ownership number. Those guys are all going to look pretty similar in my sim. That doesn't necessarily mean they should look similar in your ownership in GPPs. We want to play a little bit more of the guys that are taking less ownership. We want to play a little bit less of the guys that I think are getting over-owned. Now, if this is a cash game scenario, Jimmy Garoppolo, to me, looks like the best option at captain. But if you're playing GPPs, make sure you're playing the ownership game. You're going to want to rotate through Goff, Kittle, Garoppolo, Kupp, and Woods. Now, as we move to the utility spot, everybody that I just named is obviously still in play. Deebo Samuel, who we started with at captain, I'll go back there again, 35% of the time in the utility spot, in the optimal lineup. He's 6,200, going to be a staple of my lineup, barring any really heavy ownership. We mentioned the other 5 guys, Goff, Kittle, Garoppolo, Kupp, and Woods. They are the guys picking up the most ownership at utility. Jared Goff, actually, at the top of that list. 53.2% of the time, he is in the optimal utility spot. Goff has been great this year. I think PFF has him graded as like the 4th best quarterback, potentially 5th best quarterback. It's been a nice rebound for Jared Goff. After that, you're dropping down to Garoppolo, which shouldn't be a huge surprise. Quarterbacks should be expected to have the highest scores. So I would rank these guys: Goff, Garoppolo, a pretty sizable step down to just an absolute mess. Kittle, Mostert, who we haven't mentioned, Kupp, and Woods. Mostert looks significantly better at utility than he does at captain. 14.7 for his output. Not going to get it done at the captain spot. So you want to go to Mostert at utility instead. Those top 6 guys can really go in any order. You're probably looking to get 3 of the top 6. That's when it starts to get a little bit different. You can start finding some diamonds in the rough, so to speak. Jerick McKinnon is 2,400. I expect him to be mildly popular. He showed up in the captain spot in the utility spot 31% of the time. I think McKinnon is probably the best option from a pay down perspective. Other guys in like the 20% range: Brandon Ayuk, Sam Sloman, Robbie Gould, Kendrick Bourne. You can go to Cam Akers if you want at 2K. Malcolm Brown is 1,600. He shows up in the optimal utility spot 7% of the time. You can get really off the beaten path. Go to someone like Van Jefferson, only $400. That will open you up to more expensive builds. So if you go to, let's say, Goff at the captain spot, you might be more likely to go to someone like Van Jefferson at the utility spot, open yourself up a little bit more at the top. But if we're just talking about favorites, the guys most likely to be in the optimal lineup: Goff, Garoppolo, Kittle, Woods, Mostert, Kupp, Deebo Samuel. That is the order of those guys from a utility odds perspective. Now, we need to talk a little bit about fades. I mention this every Sunday. We can't totally talk about fades because we don't have ownership yet, but I can give it my best guess. I assume that Raheem Mostert in the captain spot is not going to look very good. Anything north of 6% ownership, and you should probably stay away. Darrell Henderson, Tyler Higbee, very, very minimal chances of being the top MVP spot. Don't go that direction. On the utility side, Henderson and Higbee both look like they're going a little overowned. If either one of them are projecting north of, say, 13 or 14% ownership, don't be afraid to be a little bit lighter. You can find more value as you work your way down. I don't have a ton of interest in Gerald Everett at 4,600. It's a lot easier to go to either Niners D or Rams D, both of which I think will probably end up a hair too owned. I only have these guys showing up in optimal utility spots under 10% of the time. I would think that both of them will show up a little bit more than that in ownership, so I'm fading the defense a little bit. If you want to go to kickers, either Sloman or Gold, I prefer Sloman by a hair. It's kickers. It feels relatively random, but if I'm picking between the two, just on a raw basis, I'm going to Sloman. I don't get the sense that they're fades, though, so keep your eye on Sloman. Keep your eye on Robbie Gold. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. That is my quick look, my showdown breakdown for tonight's game between the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. It's a Battle of California. Didn't realize it until right now. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when it goes live. Follow me on Twitter, at Josh Engleman. I will have updates to these sim results, let's say somewhere around 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to watch the FanDuel version of this video, there's probably a link somewhere around here that you can click on that'll take you directly to it. We're breaking it down for DK, we're breaking it down for FanDuel, but please let me know in the comment section, who are your favorite plays tonight? Who do you like at captain? Who do you like at utility? Who are your favorite fades? Let me know. Good luck tonight. I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow for Monday Night Football.